What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we look back on another weekend in Baylor Athletics. We'll focus in on Baylor track and field and Baylor baseball on today's show. Plus, we hear from Norchad Omier, the latest member of the Baylor men's basketball program. All that and more coming up on the show. Don't forget, you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com and on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod, and follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. It's Monday, May 13th, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill. And Mother's Day was yesterday. How was your weekend, Jerry?
My weekend was good. A lot of track, a lot of delays. But I was glad to see him be able to get the track meet in the Big 12 championships here in Waco at Clyde Hart Track and Field Stadium. And I had a little Mother's Day lunch and church that morning. And so it was good. Always got to celebrate Mother's Day, right? Maybe one of the most important days of the year.
Outside of Father's Day. Right, Jerry?
You would say that, right?
My favorite day is Christmas. Okay.
Well,
none. It's Christmas.
I can see that. How about, are you a Halloween guy or not?
No, and the listeners would know that I do not like chocolate. So as a result of not liking chocolate, Halloween is pretty ruined because 50% of the treats are chocolate. So basically it's like trick or treat and saying that and doing all the stuff to get something you're not going to eat. So no.
Yeah. Actually, Max Calderon, I believe, is like that. He doesn't like anything chocolate. So I don't know what's wrong with you guys. You know, if y'all were just brought up wrong or it's something with your system or what. But anybody that doesn't like chocolate, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, you could say there's a lot of things wrong with me, Jerry. So, okay, you're just another person to say that. But we got a chance to get to know Baylor men's basketball's latest transfer. Not a lot wrong with him. Norchad Omier in an exclusive interview. Take a listen to a few minutes of that conversation and check out the full conversation over on BaylorPlus.com. Welcome on in to BaylorPlus.com. Justin Hoff with you, and we are pleased to be joined by the newest member of the Baylor men's basketball family, Norchad Omier. Norchad, you will see this very soon if you haven't already, but it's a big family around here. I don't care if you spend 9 months or 6 years with the program like a Mark Vital. You're a part of this thing forever. Talk to us about your decision to come to Baylor and why Baylor for you.
You know, Baylor was just a spot since Coach Drew called me. Then I came on to visit, meet Tweedy, Coach Snu, all the new staff. Like, they just received me like they knew me forever, man. Like, the love they showed me, like, the way they was in contact with me, talking about basketball, about life, about just a lot of stuff. Just so much love that I got from the program of Baylor. I knew it was the right spot.
You visited Baylor recently. We saw some of the photos. I know our team was out there. What was that experience like for you to come on campus?
It was good because, you know, I didn't know like anything about Waco. I was just like, then I came in campus, like see everybody. They take me on a tour. I meet people. Like, it's just a family atmosphere everywhere you go. Like, the love everybody have for Baylor. It's different, you know, like, totally different from Miami. I'm not saying that Miami is bad. It's just two different words.
Yeah, we love our basketball down here. You're going to find that out through the season. I know so many people are excited, and we got months before the season even gets underway. What'd you think of that new arena? I mean, you're going to be one of the first guys to enter the practice facility here in about 2 months. It's brand spanking new, man.
Oh, it's impressive because, you know, I've been in different basketball facilities, but that's tough. That's the only word I have to describe it. This stuff is really modern. Like, and I not even see it fully finished yet. So like, I'm just impressed. And what is there to come is just gonna be even more amazing, I think.
Again, you can check out that full conversation with Norchad Omier now exclusively over on BaylorPlus.com. The link for that is in this podcast episode description. And Jerry, when you get to listen to this full interview, I mean, Norchad is just a good dude. I mean, just a guy that's super excited about getting to Waco. He's got a certain sense of just like kind of an old school kind of guy, loves toughness, wants to play basketball and do all the things. And his goal, much like Jeremy Roach, is to win a national championship. They've already put it out there. That's their goal. That's why they're coming to Baylor.
Well, and you've been to a Final Four. Both of them have been. So, I mean, that's got to be your goal. If you're transferring somewhere from a place that has been to a Final Four in the last couple of years, your goal has to be to go to a place where you can win a national championship, and they feel like it's here. And I think Justin, and I know I'm pretty sure you would agree with me, those are a couple of very key pieces if you're going to win a national championship, is those two guys. And again, have that, have the pedigree, have the, experience, have been to a Final Four, and that's what they're going to bring to this team next year.
I didn't ask him this because I already know the answer, but he's comfortable playing the power forward or the center. Really, this is the type of guy, hey, Norchad, play this. He's not going to balk. Like, he's just going, And so he's got a little bit of Mark Vital in him. He actually compared himself to Draymond Green, that he feels like he's that type of player. And I had said that that's the kind of guy that you hate to play against, but you love to play with. And, you can kind of, get in your head a little bit. Jeremy Sohan was a little bit like that, played a little cheeky, right? You can ask Brady Manick. He would say a few things to you for that. But Jeremy doing all right. Brady's doing all right overseas, but I'm sure you trade places with Jeremy now with the Spurs and one of the rising stars, certainly in the Western Conference. But, yeah, he's going to be special. I mean, just a smiling guy, wants to get to know the community. I mean, this is a guy, I know he's only going to play 9 months really here or be around 9 months, but you're going to see him return. I can see him be one of those guys that's a fan favorite.
Yeah, and I mean, he's everything you need, want, whatever. He's got the size, he's got the strength. He's going to defend, all of those things. So I think he's kind of the total package. Really, both of those guys are. I mean, Jeremy's a different player. He's a point guard, so obviously different players, but I think they are both kind of the full package with the experience that they've had and just the skill they have. I mean, both of them, even if you take out the equation that they've been to a Final Four, that they've got, D1 experience and all that, they're also total packages. Like they can bring everything to the table. It's not a, one trick pony, that kind of thing. They're both complete ball players. And I think they'll fit in really nicely, with this 24-25 Baylor basketball team.
And Jeremy, here's a cheat code. You want to have a successful transfer portal season, go out and get you a point guard who's going to recruit for you. He was in Norchad's ear for the last couple weeks trying to get him to Waco. And so that's one of those pieces. The point guard is the quarterback of the team. And a lot of times, the coaches can only do so much. And Scott Drew always says the best teams are player led. And this team is being led right now will be led by these two players. These are two guys instantly. They got some street cred. They come in Final Four experience. They have the all-conference selections. They have the points to show for it. They're going to come in. They're going to mix with the guys that return in this talented freshman class, and it has the makeup of a top 5 team. And we've talked about it many times, but just that mixture, that chemistry, and just having two leaders on day one that come into your program in June.
And we've talked about it, Justin. I mean, the best teams are usually the older teams, and that's what another thing that these guys add. They're older. So you like to add that and you like to bring them into the mix. I agree. I think they'll be leaders right from the start. And you're, again, led by two older players that have been to the Final Four. So, yeah, I think Scott Drew and his staff have done a great job finding some guys in the transfer portal, not just finding bodies, not just, filling the roster. They filled it with guys that can win.
Yeah, and you need that. You're going to have some freshmen. Sometimes they're going to make mistakes, and 18 to 22-year-olds are going to do some stupid stuff and on the court, and you need to say, cut that stuff out. And it's a lot easier when it comes from the player than the coach. And sometimes you got to play good cop, bad cop, all those different things. And Scott Drew's got it down to a science. But, yeah, looking forward to that. And, Jerry, okay, let's transition over to track. So you talked about you were spending a lot of time at track and field over the weekend, a lot of delays. They had a delay each of the 3 days, Thursday through Saturday. I don't know if you were bad luck there, but hey, question for you. So I didn't get a lot of time out there this weekend, had some other stuff going on, but Saturday when they had a couple of events to go and there was delays, at any point did they get rain? And if they do get rain, how do they blow it off? What's that look like on the track?
It wasn't so much rain. There was a little bit of rain that night, but it was just the lightning delays. And that was pretty much the case with every day. So there was a little bit of rain that night. And this was the shortest delay that we had. It was like 2 hours. And you're right. They had the women's 5,000. They'd already run the men's 5,000, and they had the women's 5K left. And then the 4x4 relays for both the men and the women. And those were actually heats. So we had, I guess technically, had the women's 5K and then 4 heats of the 4x4. So it was still a little bit of time even after you got back. But yeah, it was wild. I mean, usually the track drains pretty well anyway. But I didn't see like particularly any standing water or anything on the track. So yeah, they were able to get it in. And they had started even before the delay, Justin, of doing kind of a rolling schedule. Because, usually they kind of just keep it on schedule and you're not going to start this event, before its scheduled time. But they started doing the rolling time just to try to get through as much as they could. And they had gone to, since most of Friday's running events had been, canceled or put off. They actually went to timed finals on a lot of the Saturday night running events. There were only a few that had already gone to finals, so there were a lot of timed finals. So you actually did have to get through quite a few heats on those, but they were able to get it all in. Got those relays in, got the team awards announced, all that stuff, and I think it was maybe a little before or a little after 10 when they got everything done. So yeah, kudos to them for being able to just kind of hang in there and get it all done. The way it was going, particularly Thursday and Friday, you were like, is this even going to happen? And they were able to get all of it in, all the events in. So yeah, it was good and it was a great meet for Baylor, I thought.
Track and field landing 4 titles on the final day of the Big 12 Outdoor Championship. So a good Saturday, and thankfully the rain stayed away. I know there was heavy rain around the area, and so if that heavy rain would have been there for 20, 30 minutes, a downpour could have put a kaput to everything there at Baylor Track. But you spoke of it, so successful weekend on your end, Jerry. What do you think of the performance for Baylor?
Yeah, and I will say, and that is what the story said, there were 4 events on the final day. You can actually add 5 because Alexis Brown on the Friday night session, she finished jumping at 1 a.m. Saturday morning. So technically there were 5 event winners on Saturday. But yeah, Justin, I thought it was. I mean, when you go in, you don't know exactly what your expectations are. Baylor's not to that point. They're really more of kind of a national team, a lot of high quality. So they're just not deep enough to really compete for a conference championship. But, considering what they had to work with, and there were only 14 competitors on the men's side, and they were able to finish 7th overall with 63 points, a lot of wins, and just really impressive performance by the men. The women finished tied for 6th with Oklahoma with 51 points. But yeah, the big ones were the wins. Alexis Brown, like I mentioned, she got done at 1 a.m. Her last jump, 6th and final attempt, was 22 feet 5 inches. First time she'd gone over 22 feet, broke her own, school record, but also broke the stadium record. So huge day for Alexis Brown. And then she came back. One of the first events, she said she had 4 hours sleep. And one of the first events the next day was the women's 4x1. And she ran, I believe it was the 3rd leg on that. And they set a stadium record as well. So great job by them. I think it was the 3rd best all time, for the Baylor women. But the men also ran a great time in the 4x1, 38.86 program record. beat it by, I believe, like 100ths of a second, finished second overall to Houston, but a great run by them. And then, obviously both of the Nigerians won. Zaza won the javelin on Thursday, and then Nathaniel Ezekiel came back and won the 400 hurdles on Saturday, and also ran the anchor leg on the 4x4 and nearly caught the Texas Tech guy to win the 4x4. The 4x4 men ran their second fastest time of the year and finished second overall to Tech. But he started like 25 meters down and almost caught the guy, right there at the end. So great meet for them. And then Molly Haywood also won the pole vault. Did a great job there. She was going up against, a seasoned veteran, a junior that had won the title last year, Olivia Luking from Oklahoma, and she won that at 14.5 So just a lot of good marks and times. Coy Johnson was third in the triple jump with her season best. So yeah, I thought it was a great meet overall, Justin, and just kind of, I think it was another step toward that NCAA regional, which will be in a couple of weeks at Arkansas, at Fayetteville, Arkansas.
And for Coach Ford, with all these delays, maybe the best news of the weekend was the fact it was over, and the fact that, hey, we're not going to be hosting the Outdoor Track and Field Championships for several years. It's a rotational situation, and we'll be at least in the 2030s. We'll not see that for a long, long time ahead. Jerry, you're the total package, by the way. You rattling through this track. Track really well. Obviously, you can talk all sports. Forget thrill. The total package. That could be your new nickname.
Well, and I do enjoy track. I know we've talked about that before. I used to love covering the high school state track and field meet down in Austin, and was always one of my favorite events. So I am that rare breed of a sports writer that actually likes track. Mickey Humphrey, who used to be at the Waco Trib way back in the day, rest in peace. But he was a big track guy too. He's a UT graduate, and just he loved him some track, and we both shared that interest. So this was I wanted to say it was a fun weekend, but with all the delays and stuff, it really was hard. And I think you're right on about Coach Ford. I think by that time he was just ready to be done. Let's get this over with. Let's go on to the next meet. And I know that whole staff was really tired. Colin Pirtle from the Athletics Communications, he was out there for 3 straight days, probably 15, 16-hour days. So, and Lucy Reed from the ops staff. I mean, they did a great job putting that meet on, but I think all of them they probably slept well on Sunday, because that was a long 3 days.
They might still be sleeping. You never know. That's life in college athletics. There's going to be a few days where you're going to burn some 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-hour days. I know both of us have done that before. We probably got a few more days like that ahead. Looking now as we finish out the show, Baylor baseball, a tough trip up to Oklahoma to face now the Big 12 champions, the Oklahoma Sooners. I mean, one heck of a season for Oklahoma. 21-6 now on the season, 32-17 overall. Did not have a great non-conference, but once they hit conference play, they kicked it into a new gear. 21 wins. I mean, this is a team that will play obviously 30 games in each conference season, and this season right now, 6-game winning streak for them, and put it on the Bears. I mean, offensively for them, they were tremendous. I was watching a lot of games over the weekend, kept up with it. Baylor dropping to now 9-18 in the Big 12, have lost 11 straight Big 12 games, 21-29 overall. And Jerry, this was really more about Oklahoma than Baylor this weekend. The offense for Oklahoma, they scored a season high 19 runs in the Big 12 in a Big 12 game on Friday, put up 9 on Saturday in game 1, and then put up another 19 in a 7-inning win, run-ruled win to sweep the Bears. And a part of that was a inside the park grand slam. I've never seen that before. And some people were asking, how do you do that? Well, typically an outfielder is going to dive. The ball is going to go all the way to the wall, and you're going to have the most important piece to this, a super fast runner. And that's what happened. But give credit to Oklahoma. It's just obviously Baylor needed some wins, but you're running into, a buzzsaw because Oklahoma's playing so well.
Yeah, and that's a team that now has 6 conference sweeps, not 6 conference series wins, 6 sweeps. And that's kind of how you get to 21. They actually have lost 3 series. I believe it was to Oklahoma State, Texas, and West Virginia. But the fact that they have those 6 sweeps, that's how they've already clinched it's no less than a share of the regular season title. They've already got that in hand and will likely be or should be the number 1 seed at the Big 12 championship. And here's the frustrating thing, Justin, is that Baylor led in every one of those games, had an early lead in every one of those games, and that's kind of the frustrating part. Is it number one, you couldn't kind of keep it going. But then the other thing was you just never could stop the bleeding from them. Like I know, I guess it was in the Friday game where they were up 6-2 after the top of the second inning. And I believe Oklahoma scored 8 unanswered runs. Baylor scored 1, and then they scored 9 unanswered runs. So yeah, it was tough, and like I said, every game you had at least, a 1-run lead and you just couldn't hold it. There were actually signs of the offense kind of clicking, but you can't stay in the game when the pitching gives up, that kind of run production. I will say, I believe it was in that might have been the last game. It was the last game where Colin McKinney was pitching, and it was 5-2 in the bottom of the second. And if you get out of that inning, which there was a potential double play grounder. No, it was a 2-out grounder that Tyreek Kemp, his throw bounced in. Cole Posey wasn't able to scoop it, and they went on to score 5 runs that inning. If you could have gotten out of there still with a 5-2 lead, who knows? I mean, they're gonna score some runs, so you got to keep answering. But that was a big blow at the time. And Colin didn't even make it out of that inning because of all those extra pitches. So that was tough early. I mean, yes, a lot of it was on the pitching, but you can't afford to make mistakes either in games like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically giving Oklahoma an out, right? And that allowed for more runs for them. And this Oklahoma team, I'll say this much: they outscored Baylor 47-15 on the weekend. Their offense is really good. I mean, it's top 10 good. And it's the kind of quality that this team looks like a regional host. And so they're right on that bubble. This weekend helped them. They'll have to go to Cincinnati, a team that's done a great job this year. Cincinnati, very impressive in the Big 12 right now. They're sitting 5th place in their first season in the Big 12. So Oklahoma goes to Cincinnati. We'll see how that series shakes out in terms of what Oklahoma can look like. But yeah, really good credit to them. They're a really good team and just not the team that Baylor needed to see this weekend. Unfortunately for Baylor, those 11 straight losses, and with some weather going on, that Oklahoma State Texas Tech game, Baylor is now out of the Big 12 tournament. You got to be top 10. And unfortunately, Texas Tech, they finish out Big 12 play, Jerry, at 12-17. Baylor has one more series left. It's with UCF, but just too many losses there. Even if Baylor sweeps UCF next weekend, they'll finish 12-18. Texas Tech will finish 12-17. It goes by winning percentage. Tech gets the nod. And just unfortunate because, Texas Tech has been struggling as well. Texas Tech has lost 8 straight. There was a decent shot that they lose to Oklahoma State. They get swept, and then Baylor would be able to control its own destiny against UCF at home, but not meant to be.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering why they didn't do the same plan that Oklahoma did. I mean, they're not that far apart, and if they had played a doubleheader on that Saturday, then maybe Tech drops them both, and you could be sitting here with at least a chance. Now, the way Baylor's playing, I don't know that they can sweep a good UCF team, but at least you would have still had some hope. And so that was, that's a shame. UCF had a similar deal. I believe it was the weekend before where they got a game canceled. So kind of a similar situation there where you can't catch them because that same deal, that same scenario where they're not going to wind up with as many losses as Baylor already has.
Yeah, and if you're Texas Tech, I mean, that's a gift, right? Hey, the rain's in the area. We don't need to play today. Okay, sign me up for that, because obviously they knew if they didn't have to play, they're guaranteed they're going to be in the Big 12 tournament. As for Oklahoma State, not such a bad thing either for them not playing, because now they sit squarely at second place behind Oklahoma, and West Virginia behind them with Texas. So Oklahoma State trying to get that number 2 seed, because the first 2 seeds, they get the bye. And so it's one of those deals, you look at the weather if you're Oklahoma State, you look at the weather if you're Texas Tech, and weather could be around the area, and you're kind of like, let's cancel it, right? Because it benefits both teams, because Texas Tech needed a win. They knew that they most likely had to get a win, or at least to feel good about going into next week. And so all is not, you don't have to get a win if you don't play the game. And for Oklahoma State, they lose that game, they're tied, for second with a few of the teams. So it worked out really nicely for those 2 teams. Not so much for Baylor. Obviously, they have a midweek game out of conference against TCU. Unique. We'll probably see a few of those against maybe like a Texas or Oklahoma next year when those 2 teams move to a different conference. But they'll play out of conference game against TCU, and then they're home this weekend for what will be their final games of the season against UCF.
Yeah, it's tough, Justin, because they were in great position. I guess it would be halfway through, maybe just over halfway through. They were sitting there at 9-7. So at that point, you're thinking, okay, we're in, but you got to win games. That's the key. These have been tough series. There've been some games where they've been in, and there's been some games where they've actually gotten blown out. But all you needed was 2 or 3 wins in this stretch, and you're still in it. But they just weren't able to do it. I think it's one of those things where a lot of the injuries kind of caught up with them. Not enough on that side. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, I can see the progress that this team has made, but obviously still have some steps to take. And I know coaches, maybe they don't do this, but I do. You kind of play a little bit of that what if game. Like, what if you had Hunter Simmons the whole year? What if you had this guy, this guy, this guy? I mean, they had so many guys injured and in and out of the line. They didn't have Wesley Jordan for this series. They didn't have Wesley Jordan last weekend. So, those were big blows to the team that could have really helped this team win a couple of those games that we're talking about. So, should be hopefully full strength next year and have a better shot. And you still want to finish strong, Justin. I think, your goal is to win these last 4 games and kind of finish on a strong note. Obviously, it's not the season that Mitch wanted to have, but they have made progress, in my mind, at least. I think they were much more competitive this year than last year, and we're able to, and hopefully, if you win 4 more games, then that's 25 instead of 20 wins. So I think there's been signs, but it's tough not having a chance to make the Big 12 tournament on the final weekend of the regular season.
That'll do it for today's edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Monday, and Sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears.